Now, as America faces the prospect of borrowing $125 billion every month just to pay the bills, what does the future really hold for the superpower? The writer and polemicist Mark Steyn foresees a post-American world where China, the Islamic world and others come to dominate. He warns America is heading for a rapid descent into economic Armageddon. Before we test his views further, here's where he thinks Uncle Sam is heading. It's the apocalypse soon thesis, the idea that America's time of global dominance is finished and that new powers, China and India, are poised to fill Uncle Sam's shoes. After predicting the collapse of the rest of the Western world in his first book, America Alone, Mark Steyn argues in After America that his adopted country has caught up with Europe in the great rush to self-destruction. It's his wake-up call aspirin against drunken sailor policymaking in Washington. He starts with the money, Obama's non-stimulating stimulus, impending financial collapse, before lambasting the whole culture in America. The shift away from the can-do spirit to the can-do with some government funding spirit. And it's the kids who will be picking up the check after the old-timers' almighty bender. Live free or die from 1,000 soothing caresses of the nanny state is his mantra to America's young. Steyn's antidote is to strip away government, decentralise, de-governmentalise, demonopolise, de-credentialise. Anything to force the statists out of our pockets and out of our lives. But Steyn is clear that the fall will not be pretty, and it will not be gradual. His forecasts predict the slide within the next 10 years. Unlike AIG or Greece, the USA is big enough to fail and is heading headlong towards being the first empire to literally shop till we drop. To Steyn, the bubble about to pop isn't the property market or cheap credit, it's the USA of the 21st century itself. And I should say Mark Steyn, the author of After America, joins me now. Mark Steyn, do you think that America's in a worse position than Europe?
Well, I think so, if only because the sums of money are so much greater. I mean, when a multi-trillion-dollar disaster slides off the cliff, it lands with a much bigger thud than Iceland or Portugal.
But in fact, proportionally, America is richer and bigger to withstand it.
I think you can do the debt to GDP comparisons, but I think in the end, actually here, the hard money sums are so huge. I mean, we're talking about America depending on the rest of the planet being willing to sink 20% of its entire GDP into US Treasury debt by 2020. That's astonishing.
But are you really suggesting that Western civilization is over?
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you want the short answer, I think it gets back to what you were talking about earlier. I think the downgraded credit rating in America and the downgraded human capital on the streets of Manchester we saw earlier are actually part of the same story. The really evil thing about big government is not just the waste of money, but the waste of people.
But if big government hadn't stepped in America in 2008, you know, the ATMs would have had no money in them. You know, people wouldn't even just lose their houses, people would be looting in their houses. I mean, they had to step in then, didn't they, even for a short fix?
No, I don't think so. And I think we're beyond short fixes. I mean, this is what the Western world is up against. Its business model is unsustainable. I mean, I don't agree with Diane Abbott on a lot, as Diane will cheerfully admit, but we did agree that her question gets to the heart of it, that people have to have a stake in society. And in Greece, and in Germany, and here, and increasingly in the United States, too many people don't.
But you were the man who was all for no regulation. And look where no regulation got us the banks.
No.
You know, and subprime mortgage, people were buying houses they couldn't afford them. The American dream.
No, the subprime mortgage was invented by government. The United States government decided that banks could no longer make rational calculations of risk. It destroyed two of the bedrocks of free societies, the property market. There's about twice as many three-bedroom homes as anyone needs in America, and the banking system. Now, those are two of the pillars of a free society.
But are you really saying that things are so fragile that America might fail?
Yes, I think so. I think by 2015, when you have US taxpayers, simply through the interest on the debt, funding the entire cost of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. There's no precedent for that. No precedent for that.
But you, I always think, are the person who's the big defender of Western civilization, and now you've turned turtle.
No, I am a defender. I'm here saying I don't want to slide off the cliff, but we're hanging by our fingernails, and to get back onto solid ground is going to take... I think this is not just... as when Pax Britannica yielded to Pax Americana. I think this is a profound civilizational shift such as we have not seen in centuries.
So, in fact, do you believe that Islamic civilization, Indian civilization, Chinese civilization could actually teach us a lot about the way to live?
No, I think we're looking at a world in which you would have, say, an economically strong China, a demographically strong Islam, that would really share in very little of the world's wealth, an opportunist Russia. The Pax Britannica to Pax Americana transition after the Second World War was relatively smooth. Here we would have no world order, not a new world order.
But what about things like the rule of law and democracy? Does that stand for hee-haw?
I like the rule of law and rule of democracy. What's fascinating to me about watching those fellas in your film on Manchester, where do you see the rule of law and democracy anywhere around, the regional powers anywhere around the planet? Canada, South Africa, India, Australia. What do those countries have in common? How come people on the streets of Manchester don't know that?
Mark, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure, Cassie.